Good evening, familia. This is Ray Collazo, the host of the Found in Translation talk show, the talk show that seeks truth about politics, community issues, la cultura, whatever's going on, family. This is just Ray Collazo. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, in the backdrop of the countdown to Bomba Live, the virtual Puerto Rican celebration, this is going to be an incredible show because we're not only going to provide a lot of information about what I'm calling the next level of leaders. These are the leaders that in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years are going to be the leaders in our community going to see on a national level, taking the Latino political movement to the next level. We're going to have had a little audio issue there, but nevertheless, so we're going to talk to some great leaders and also give you some, why not, Bomba Live updates, as well as have updates about the upcoming Philadelphia Latino Film Festival with our great friend, Marángeli Mejía-Rabell. But let's get the party started with my co-host, the fearless Zoe Colon. Zoe, welcome back to Found in Translation.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You got to be not as good as you, though, Zoe, because you're sharing such a special time in your life here. It is your pre-gaming for your birthday. Your birthday is tomorrow, Zoe. Happy birthday to you. An early happy birthday to you.
I'm so excited to be here and kick it off with everyone, all of our special guests, and really looking forward to Bomba Live June 13th. So I'll be celebrating my birthday for a whole month, including a Bomba Live.
No question. It's the only way you Geminis do. No question about it. So my wife's birthday is next week. That's why I'm not doing the show next week. That's the ladies are taking over the stream. But Zoe, we have a packed show, so I want to get to our leaders here. Just want to let people know again, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival later. Later on the show, we're going to have leaders that are running for office in Pennsylvania Tuesday, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of these elections that are upon us. We have some leaders though from the great state of Florida, Zoe, that you wanted to bring to the table and let people to know, because they not only provide leadership in Central Florida, but they're the kind of young emerging leaders we want to engage throughout the country. People want to pay attention to.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Ray, for allowing us this space, this platform to talk about the growing diaspora in Central Florida and our politics and why this is so important. So thank you for that. So I think, are we going to bring them on at the same time?
Yeah, just introduce them and I'll bring them on.
All right. So we have Representative Amy Mercado, State Representative Amy Mercado, and we have Jochi Cora, who's running now for school board. And thank you so much for being on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Ray.
It is so exciting to have you on. And I think kind of in that spirit of Bomba Live, and we'll talk later about the show. And throughout the show, Zoe's going to give us updates on some of the special performers that we've confirmed in the last few days. But, part of it's not just, you could talent, artistic talent, Puerto Ricans goes without saying. But one of the things we want to incorporate into Bomba Live, we've incorporated in the Found in Translation from the beginning, is the talent that we're bringing to organizing and leadership throughout the diaspora. Representative Amy Mercado is not a rookie in the game. She's already an elected official. She's running for an exciting position we'll talk about in a second. But why don't we start with you, Representative? For people that don't know your background, you've been a representative for an elected official for some time. And you've been, even though you're still a very young person, part of this pioneering generation of young Latino leaders in Central Florida.
And she's
yes, exactly. By way of the Bronx. I have good moisturizer, so I look younger than I really am. So I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you.
Puerto Rican women have their secrets. We'll never tell.
I'm keeping my secrets. Thank you very much.
JLo's not the only one. That's what I always tell people. She's not there.
I love it. So yes, I'm actually a state representative in the State House of Florida. I've been elected since 2016. I'm actually the first Puerto Rican woman in the State House. So that's, something very proud and dear to me. We had representation almost 20 something years ago. 21 years ago was the first Puerto Rican that hit the state legislature. So it took some time, right, from the male to the female, but we're there, and it's exciting. I love it. I happen to be a duo. My dad is State Senator Victor Torres, and so we're the first father-daughter Rican duo in the State House. So and the state legislature. So we actually, take that.
And your mom's no slouch in her own mind. You talk about power.
No, my mom has her own world.
She keeps me in check on Facebook. I'm gonna keep it real. But I love her for that. No doubt about it.
Yes. It's usually you get my dad, I'm kind of in the middle. You get my mom, you get my dad, and then it's me, right? As far as temperament and how we speak and what we do and how we say. But yes, I love it. So no, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I've been here 25 years. I've actually been in Florida now longer than I was in New York. I left New York when in my early 20s, and came here for different reasons, for what was supposed to be temporary. Has become a 25-year stint, and I've got deep roots now, and I've seen this place grow. Things have changed dramatically in the 25 years that I've been here, and all with its own challenges, but it's been amazing. When I first got here, we had very limited representation. There were Latinos here, but it was different, and the climate was different, and the politics were different, and little by little we've been adding la salsa day by day, and here we are. So I'm super excited.
It's exciting. Share a little bit about, the Florida legislature is a swamp. I mean, and it can be difficult for a progressive Latina Democrat to represent for us and tally. So share a little bit about what you're able to do with that platform for the Latino community, because you obviously have influence, but when you got a guy like DeSantis as your governor, it's challenging to get things done. Let's keep it real.
It's very interesting, to say the least. So yeah, and thank you for the question. Actually, the legislature is really, it's a unique opportunity for all of us, regardless of what paths we've come from and tried to develop. But you need to define that on your own, right? You need to figure out what's important to you and how to advocate for your community, so to speak, in the right way, in the right fashion that's true to you and culturally competent, which I say a lot and pretty often, because it's important to me. And I hadn't had the opportunity prior to getting elected to have representation that looked like me, that lived like I lived, that struggled like I struggled. I still have, a full-time job that I keep, even though I'm a legislator, because I have to. It's not something that I want to do, right? But there's economic things and challenges that I face, as well as the rest of my community, and I'm no different or better than anybody else is trying to figure out how to survive. And I bring that to Tallahassee. I bring a real life, real person effort to try to share how I legislate, what's important for me, what kind of legislation is important for me, what kind of relationships I want to build. No secret, I'm a social progressive, but I come from a business background. And so it's interesting to have those conversations and navigate the waters, so to speak, because I can speak to both sides and really develop the consensus and share new things with folks that just don't think like we think. Not necessarily they're thinking against us. It's just they've not had to deal with certain things or certain struggles, or have struggled from a different angle. And so, I wear those badges very proudly. I have to, continue the work that I do on a daily basis. I have a multi-generational home, a multi-generational household that I have to take care of. And so I have just as many challenges that my community has, from students to seniors, from Medicare to no health insurance. And what does that mean in between? And I bring that to every single one of my things in my legislation as I move those forward.
Representative, and I wanted to point something out. I know that you're running a different race now at the county level, and in looking to see who from the Hispanic community would be able to run for your seat. I know that a lot of folks really had to contemplate whether they could even afford, to do this, because not many people like you and I can, right? It's not a high paying position. And also, from what I understand, I've heard in the past, a lot of legislators in Tallahassee are well paid, kind of folks with a lot of privilege. That's right. And so it's pretty much set up by design to keep people like you and I and Jochi out of those offices. So anything you have to say about that? And then
Absolutely. So I am thrilled. My current district, so House District 48, which is literally the center of Orange County, which is the center of our area, is the heart really of our county, and it really shows the diversity of what we're talking about. And so whoever ends up in that seat representing after me, basically takes on a torch of an entire community that has changed immensely in just a few years. So the talent, I'll say, that's actually have filed, and folks that have said they wanted to file for my seat, is amazing. I mean, even 4 years ago when I ran for my seat, the talent bench was limited. We had some, but there was the idea of running is challenging for some folks. And you mentioned, you allude to it. The pay is very limited. It's $29,000 a year, and the sell of some of this information is like, oh well, it's part-time. Well, in theory, it's part-time because you're physically away from the county 60 days, but you're not doing part-time work, right? You're now, once you become the elected official for the area, you're dealing with constituent work. So right now, for example, we're dealing with this pandemic crisis, and we have folks that have been unemployed since early March that are desperate. And so our office has literally been 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just on unemployment since March. That doesn't account for all the other constituent needs, right? There's housing needs, there's healthcare needs, there's traffic needs, like there's all kinds of stuff. And we're kind of the go-between local, state, federal, plus we still have the legislative pieces that we take care of. So by the time you look at it all, you are beyond the 24/7 job. It's not something that you can necessarily turn off if you want to be effective, right? Like, and that's also dependent on the definition of effectiveness for you. But I am all in. I'm hands-on with all of my community members, my constituents. My team is only a team. There were 3, and it's 3 Latinas actually, and 2 stay in the office in and out. And that was important to me. I wanted representation in my office. And right now it's highlighted because Spanish speakers in our community are growing. And the challenges that they have just to file an application with the state unemployment office, with DEO, is immense. So if you have
too, right?
that are challenged, the Spanish speakers are more challenged because the system is not friendly to them. It's not necessarily culturally competent. It may be bilingual, but that doesn't make it accurate, right? And so there's all kinds of problems that we have to contend with. And we share resources with our colleagues around the county and the state. It's not unique to me, but we try to be that conduit, so to speak, between our communities so that they can get the things that they need because they're struggling.
So to your point about the need for representation, and I'd love for Jochi to jump in. So, Amy, I think you've been pretty clear about your passion for advocating for our community. And so along those same lines, Jochi, is that important to you? Is that part of the reason why you're running? And tell us more about why you're running, what you're running for, and we'll definitely come back to you, Representative. Just wanted to make sure that we hear from both of you around that cultural competency and that representation that we yearn for.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm running for the Osceola School Board, and I'm running in Kissimmee, Florida, which is probably where most of the Puerto Rican population lives, right? And Buenaventura Lakes. And yeah, I've been in education since 2012. Last year, I was a teacher in the district, and I really saw the need of specifically our Puerto Rican students, right? Where there was not much technology with them. The school had laptops, but they were used for testing. So in that moment, I couldn't tell my students, go to the media center to grab a laptop, right? In the media center, there were no laptops for my students. And, I came from Orange County, where students have their own laptops where they go home with, right? And then transitioning from that to Osceola County, where the library didn't have laptop, it was a big shock. So in my brain, right, I have this whole life of activism that I've done, right, with Misión Boricua and Bori Squad and a lot of the different organizations and collectives that are down here in Orlando, Central Florida, that I said, why not try to do this? I had a lot of teachers in the school tell me, go for it. And I made the decision, and I ran with it. And right now I'm learning a lot. I love that, I have people like Amy Mercado and Victor Torres to kind of look up to. And, because we're all in this together, right? We're all trying to serve specifically, everyone in Florida, but specifically our people that so many times are left behind. So yeah, and I saw, the struggle specifically of the students and the teachers, and that's really what propelled me to run for this district and for school board.
Thank you for sharing. And you're a young Latino, right? A brown Latino, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's so important and in representing our community. It's a lot easier to kind of, pass if you're, white passing Latino, when you truly represent our people and our youth. I think that's really powerful. And so I'm really excited for your race. Representative, just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit more about the office that you're running for and why that's important and why you chose to run for that seat.
So the new seat is the Orange County Property Appraiser's Office. It's not a position actually that most states or counties countries have. And so even explaining to folks in the community what it is that I'm running for, first you have a language piece. So you start with in English, Orange County Property Appraiser's Office. And then in Spanish, it's Tasadora de Propiedades, right? And it's like, so what is it exactly? Right. And that's what's important. That's why it's important to have someone like me run. And it, not only me clearly, but, it's important to me to bring that education of the position forward, because it affects folks and they just don't realize that it affects them, right? So the property appraiser is the person that assesses the value of all the property in the county, regardless of what it is, whether it's residential, commercial, agricultural. That person is the elected official, because it's an elected position. It's actually an administrative position, and you have an entire team of folks that are specialists within each one of those silos that I just mentioned that go out and appraise or value your property. So that's everybody. That's from the theme parks to the us, small residential homeowners throughout the year. And then that information, so we're not collecting the taxes. We're not charging you anything. We're saying how much your property is worth. And then that information administratively goes to different layers of the county. So it goes to the Department of Revenue, to the state. They review it and approve the office's budget to then bring it back, and the county then does their piece. And there's like 7 stops before you get a bill for your taxes, and it's actually like 7 distinct institutional pieces. People don't know; they have no idea that many people touch, right? And I get
to piggyback off of that, Amy, because our Latino people don't know about this school board as well. So
it
many
doesn't exist. Yeah. So I actually have family still in New York, right? And it's funny to talk to your own, right? Because they can basically call the BS, right? Like, what in the world? What the hell? And so I had to explain. So I have family still in New York, and I'm like, okay, so the equivalent position to the property appraisers in Florida, in Orange County, in New York, is actually a commissioner appointed by Mayor de Blasio. So I'm talking about the 5 boroughs, right? So there's a commissioner position that's appointed by the mayor within the Department of Finance in New York. So they understand that, right? I said, okay, so think of this position, and I will be doing the equivalent work for our area, for this county, right? And, clearly it's a smaller budget compared to New York City, but you have to get as close to the equivalence to then parse it down to then share the information with whoever you're speaking to. And that happens with everyone.
But to your point, we often, some of us, even most educated folks in our community, we kind of pursue low-hanging fruit. So we're very familiar with certain positions, certain seats, and that's what we go for.
Well, and you said it's familiarity, right? You're comfortable.
Familiarity, right. But we need people like you, and you will be the first Latina elected to be.
First Rican, first Latina, first woman in that seat.
That's call it into existence. And it's so important for us to think about positions that require urban planning and engineers. And, I worked in the commission for a short while, but during that time, I'm like, my God, our community doesn't know enough about urban planning and how
how long,
how it impacts urbanization, how it impacts, everything. So I'm so glad that you're running for this position, and I hope that it brings light to the importance of those types of positions that are not always familiar to us.
Yeah, and it's important, because for our community specific, the Latino community, the Puerto Rican community, especially the diaspora, we're coming from all walks of life. And we're coming not only from the island into the mainland, but we're coming from the different states, right? And so what my experiences were in New York are going to be very different from folks from Chicago, from Connecticut, right? From Illinois, Connecticut, and so forth. And so we have the commonality of our culture, but not necessarily how we dealt with things. And so even explaining to folks from the different areas of the diaspora, it takes, specific time and effort. But a lot of us are renters. Like I was a renter before I purchased my home. It took forever for me, it felt like, to be able to purchase something. And people are like, oh, pero eso no me afecta a mí porque yo estoy alquilando. Well, it does, because you're paying for the rent, right? And in paying for your rent, the taxes that person owes for that property, I promise you, is part of the list, right? When you hear about, oh yeah, so you can rent and cable's included or whatever's included, right? I promise you, they didn't highlight the fact that their taxes are part of that scale. Yeah. Because
I think we really struggle with these local issues. And I think we struggle with voter education in general, particularly with a newly arrived community in Central Florida. I know that because we were able to elect Joanna Lopez onto the school board, the first Puerto Rican female ever, I think that brought a lot of light. It amplified that role and the importance of that role and that seat. So Jochi, if you can tell us a little bit about, what the school board does and why you felt compelled to run.
Yeah, so some of the things that we do is we approve the building of new schools, we approve the budgets, a lot of the information and a lot of the laws that come from the state. We're the ones who distribute the money and distribute the different policies and implement policies and all that. Mm-hmm. So like you said, Joanna Lopez, the first Puerto Rican elected in Orange County, in the school board of Orange County. And I won't be the first Latino or Puerto Rican in Osceola County. And it's all good. But it's something that Amy Mercado said, a lot of these positions people don't know about them. I work very closely, specifically down here with voter education. And in my circles, I'm always talking about specifically local government, because people don't know that, yes, we have the president, but we have people locally that affect our lives completely
directly sometimes.
Oh my God. And those school boards in our those heavy Latino communities, oftentimes, there's very few communities where Latinos, if we don't have a presence, we're not the majority of the kids in the school board just because of our demographics.
Even in Osceola County, where it's over 60% Latino in the schools, there's not the representation. So it's five board members, but on the bench there are about 17. Out of those 17 people, 2 were Latinos and all of the rest were white. So this is something that is also in my mind, where we have to diversify the whole leadership of the county, because we have so many issues that come up that when you don't have diversity, a lot of things fall through the cracks and no one really pushes for that.
And to be clear, Kissimmee was 68% Hispanic, and that was a few years back, right? And so this was
even more now.
Pre-Hurricane Maria, pre-earthquakes. So, we're looking at least 75% Hispanic, if not more, at this point. So,
and to be fair, some of the stuff we see and feel in the state level as well, because you get, I'm still fighting for your community too, right? Like there's folks that are our allies, so to speak. And that may be true. And there's a level of sympathy. But there's a big difference between being sympathetic and empathetic. When you're walking in the same shoe, when you're dealing with the same issue, when you've come from that issue and figure out how to get above and beyond, it's a different play. It's not necessarily
different. It's a different fight. You're fighting for your people when you come from that area, right? Okay. Then from let me help. So let me help is different than let me fight, right? And that's why it's important to have the representation that we need in these very important spots.
And you're listening to Jochi Cora Santiago, candidate for school board in Osceola County, and Representative Amy Mercado, no stranger to the Latino leadership community nationally. I was sharing, Zoe, the last time I saw both, Representative Mercado, and Zoe Colon in person was in Puerto Rico. It's almost a couple years ago,
Almost,
a year and a half.
yeah.
So it's great to have that reunion here virtually. And you two are definitely rising stars. And, you know, obviously we support both of you here, whatever we can do to support your candidacies. I wanted to, before we ask you all to give us your final comments, I did want to make, Zoe's going to make a quick announcement because I want you all on screen for this, give you a chance to react to some of these real-time announcements. So my favorite bit to do on the show was the surprise. So I chat her these announcements and we kind of get her smile. So what's going on here, Bomba Live, the virtual Puerto Rican celebration, for my money is going to be not only just a great party, we're going to get it down like Puerto Ricans do, but it is really going to be it's really going to be like a Somos type event, a conference. We're going to have seminars, very much like you see often these leaders that we're talking to here. You do a great job. I saw, Zoe, you led a Spanish language webinar the other day. A lot of great content. We're going to have that conversation with Puerto Ricans on the island and throughout the diaspora. We're going to have Bomba educate. We're going to have a Bomba group that's going to teach kids how to paint while they're dancing Bomba. So we're going to have great education, some great education segments. We're going to have motivational speakers, beauty tips. Chef Greg from Tampa is going to cook Puerto Rican dinner at dinner time. So we're going to have a great event. So let me text or private chat here on the system here. One of the guests that we confirmed today.
I'm so excited.
Joey's reaction here. Let's get Joey's reaction.
Ooh. We're not gonna have our local festival, you know.
Check out
okay.
Yeah.
All right, drum roll.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have winner Jedimar Rijos.
There you go. So she won last year, and Luis Fonsi was her protege. So let me give her another one. I think I have a feeling.
Let's do it.
I have a feeling Amy and
Where's
Zoe.
my Puerto Rican flag? I usually have
know,
it with me.
I have a feeling Amy and Zoe are gonna like this one. Hold on, let's see. Of course, Zoe's still.
I was like, I need some maracas or something. What's going on?
This is gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna. So hold on. Let's get to it. I think she's gonna like this one. Let's see if you like. I don't know if you like this kind
there
of
you
stuff.
go.
Listen, I grew up in the Bronx. Okay,
Yes, I'm older than you. I know who this is.
Freestyle DJ.
You're not old enough for the devil's.
Richie,
Oh, you don't understand.
Devil's Nest in the house. So
Yes.
come on, girl. I got the references. But Richie Rich, I want to give a shout out to this brother because look, I mean, we're doing this from the heart, and our goal here is at the end of the show, and the show will end up at 10 o'clock on Saturday, June 13th. We're gonna have DJs who have that are on social media that are gonna do after parties on Instagram, and he's gonna do the freestyle room. So not only is he gonna play freestyle on his Instagram social media, but we're going to have a Zoom room that you can log into. So we're all partying together. So people are going to dress up Saturday, June 13th.
Are you guys coming?
I'm definitely coming.
No, you definitely got. And then we're going to have DJ Jose Rodriguez from Philadelphia, great friend of mine. He actually DJ'd our wedding. He's going to do the salsa room. And then we're announcing the hip hop room and the reggaeton room next week. But yeah, I mean, so we got 4 floors of partying going on. The virtual after party with Zoom rooms. And so, you know what? I'm going to be, hold on. Let me just give her one. I just said it, but just we can formally.
You got another surprise?
I mean, I got many. We don't have time to get into all of them. So we need to announce my man because he's the showstopper.
Yeah.
Award with love, Chef Greg.
I know y'all Puerto Ricans know about Chef Greg. This is the brother that made that patela during Christmas in his oven. Remember the whole big patela? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
So he's a good man.
I can use that in my life right now. Yes.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So he's gonna make dinner on the show. So we're gonna have a party. So before we get to our next guest who's in the queue, why don't we start with you, Hochi? First of all, thank you, man. We need to talk. I've run for office myself. I've gone through those ups and downs as the young guy and trying to break through to this new generation, as a new generation, and we've met on social media, but we definitely need to connect and y'all will both be on the show before Election Day in August. But just any final words you have for people in Central Florida and anybody watching this that's looking to your leadership as the next generation you wanted to share.
Yeah, so not much, but this is my part of educating people. I've also shared this on my Facebook page, and just to get out and vote, to register. There's also specific rules to registration in Florida. So all of this education we're ready to throw at people, and go out and vote for everyone that they can to make an informed decision. and to vote for me.
Wonderful.
And
Hochi,
Amy, right? Amy, I'm rooting for you, Amy. All the way.
And let me tell you, the school board members of today are your Congress people of tomorrow. I mean, there's no question about it. Representative Amy Mercado, you know, God, I can't think of something more important than dealing with property in Central Florida. You're gonna have a lot of friends very soon. Let me tell you. So just anything else you want
or
to share
not so many. It depends, right? But
you mentioned
at the end of the day, is
when you're ethical, that's what happens. You don't have that many friends, so that's what happens.
You mentioned the parks, and you know, I mean, that's such a large employer and such a large piece of land, and so I mean, I don't think people really understand the intricacies of that position. So as you brought that up, I'm like, "Espérate, that's Disney, that's Universal, that's you know."
Well, and that's part of the deal, right? That so the office in and of itself, what I'm trying to bring to it is basically restoring integrity in the office, bringing it more out into the sunshine, into the open. And showing folks really the reality of the purpose of that office. It's kind of secretive. Most folks don't even know what it is, right? From a different angle. And it's to share, bring the light and bring the transparency into the office. Let the community see and understand what it is that's happening with their money. At the end of the day, it's taxpayer dollars from all angles, from the top to the bottom to the top, right? It doesn't matter. And as long as it's being done justly and equitably, that's what we want. So when you have both sides of step with you, you know you're doing the job, right? And from my perspective, and I say this to Josh and I've had different conversations. I'm going to be very Gandhi-esque, right? You want to be the change that you want to see. You want to see something different in your community, and the people that are representing you, the folks that are making those decisions, they wake up just like you do every single day. You need to do the same thing. You may not win the first time. I get that. I've been there, done that. I've had, my race and, take my licks and keep going. But I've learned so much. I've been able to share. I've developed a relationship with folks like you. And, Zoe and I talked before this.
Yeah, to that point, I want to congratulate you and thank you for having the courage and making all the self-sacrifices. You like you said, you have a multi-generational home, you work a full-time job, and you do this and you do it at 1,000%. Jochi, I know it must be hard, figuring out, okay, like how am I gonna manage on this salary and the travel back and forth. It's a major decision. And actually I've considered it myself, and hats off to you all that have the courage to run.
I haven't been able to convince her. Really, I tried.
I know. So there's a few people.
Cologne 2020, Cologne 2021. What are we talking about? Hochi Cora Santiago and Representative Amy Mercado, again, running for property appraiser in Orange County. Y'all fam. Amy, I've been watching you. You talk about someone that really cares about the community, but working so hard. I just want to make sure you get some rest, girl. Life balance is important. Take care. I know you have so much, so much on your plate. So
protected. I have an amazing village, and I give them all the credit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Hochi and Representative Amy. We're going to see each other very soon, and that was two of our friends from Florida. And I want to make sure we have so many good people here in the queue. We're going to take a break for the politics for a few minutes because. Zoe, are you a movie person? That's a good question. Do you like movies?
A little bit.
So, because movies are such a great vehicle to share these stories. We have so many talented people in our community, especially with the modern technology. It's not like the old days. A lot of people can make movies, and someone that's a great friend to the show, great activist, a great person that really connects our culture to the arts, to activism, and has a great event coming up in Philadelphia next week. We wanted to share with, and we're supporters of 1,000%. From the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, Marángeli Mejía-Rabell. Marángeli, welcome back to Found Translations, girl.
Buenas noches, miente, no? Congratulations to you. Loving the Bomba Live plugs. I'm ready. I'm pumped for June 13. And thank you so much for having me join you tonight. Soy un placer.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutamente. Mira, ella dice que she's not a movie person. So I have the perfect solution for you. You got to join. You got to come and check out FLAF 2020. So the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival is going virtual this year. And we are super excited. Rafael actually was with us last year on opening night. And we are,
Well, no, film festivals, I absolutely, especially Latino film festivals, I absolutely adore and I appreciate. That's different. And docuseries and things, particularly when it's on our people. So absolutely, I'm with you 1,000%. And I'm definitely going to tune in now that I know it's available online. Love it.
Absolutely.
Marángeli, why don't you just start from the beginning? You know, you've been doing this for several years now. Again, last year we had the honor when we could actually go outside and talk to people. That we actually broadcasted live from found in translation from the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, and I actually took my sons to one of the movies. They had a great time. The Scorpion, I forget the whole name of it, but
Yeah,
with
Papi Ramirez and the Giant Scorpion.
yeah, we had a great time. So Marángeli, tell people about the festival and how it's all virtual this year, so people around the country, around the world can enjoy it.
So mira, the first thing that I want to say again, thank you both for creating the space for us to come and share the information about the festival. But the one thing that I want to say is that there were two considerations that were critical. We understand that we're navigating a changing landscape, and we know that being with community is what grounds us. So the importance of being in community was critical for us to make the decision to keep the dates. And once we understood what it meant, we're going to embrace it, and we are going to do this virtually. So the guest experience is a priority for us. So we are making it super simple. People will just go into our website and that's it. You go and you will find flaf.org will be your hub. So you will get access to all the offerings through our homepage.
Wonderful.
But check out the website now, because you can see we're doing a full week of programming. So I'll keep it short because I know you guys have other things.
No, we're good.
Dale. So primero, we have been expanding filmmaker offerings. So our festival works on that intersection of arts and culture and community. And it's about the power of filmmaking and film as a tool for social change. And also the idea of connecting with each other. So how does that happen? Filmmakers having the opportunity to connect with each other. So we're doing filmmaker offerings, and we'll be doing that from June 1st through the 3rd. Actually, Rafael, you mentioned Papi Ramirez and the Giant Scorpion. So on June 2nd, Les is going to be doing a conversation with another filmmaker, Eunice Levi, about films and Afro-Latinx characters and representation, or Afro-Latinx stories, and how is it that in their case, they went from a feature and a short film to series where they're treating the subject in episodes. And that will be also Thomas from Nertino will also be in the house with them with that conversation. We have a very powerful conversation with the Undocumented Filmmakers Collective on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have two offerings as well. Sorry that I'm backtracking. You distracted me with the left thing. I went into the Papi Ramirez. On Monday, we're doing a read-through of a script of a short film that is being produced with a group of young people in the Norris Square neighborhood. So we're working on participatory filmmaking. So how is it that emerging filmmakers work collectively and develop and co-manage a project from beginning to end? So you'll have the opportunity to check the cast doing a read-through of the script. The film was scheduled to premiere at the festival, and as we know, things changed around us, so we had to postpone the shoot, but we wanted to make sure that all the work and wonderful energy that they have been putting into this project could be shared. So please tune in, everything through flaf.org. On Monday, we have a couple of things that are happening. We're also doing, if you guys have not checked Decade of Fire, which premiered last year, it's a wonderful documentary about the Bronx and the fires in the Bronx. And we have the film premiere in Philly last year at our festival. And this year, we're doing a master class with the producer, with Neida Martinez, and one of the directors, Vivian Vasquez, in collaboration with Scribe Video Center.
How long have you been running the festival, for those of us that are not familiar?
So I have been part of the festival family, first as a collaborator. The festival started in 2012 through my work with Afro Taino. I'm the Taina of Afro Taino. And as of 2014, I joined the board, and towards the end of the year, they were like, hey, and here I am. So I am very honored. This festival was founded by two people that I have a lot of respect, Via Vieira and David Acosta. And now, you know, we have a phenomenal team of wonderful creatives. Leisa Montañez, who is a friend of Lost in Translation, is our communications director. Cristal Sotomayor, who's a wonderful documentary filmmaker, is my partner in crime in programming. Didier Garcia. You look at our website. I'm not even going to say anything about Didier. I'm just saying, just go to flaf.org. That's all him.
Found the guy, no doubt about it. So you're listening to Marángeli Mejía-Rabell talking about the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival coming up June 4th and 7th. You can check that out at phlaff.org. And you know what? The one of the benefits of this COVID-19 situation is you don't have to be in Philadelphia to enjoy this festival. And Marángeli, I give you so much credit because, you know, we used to collaborate not only first of all on the activism side, but also with the arts. And she puts together some incredible events. She's a great supporter of independent, not only filmmakers, but artists, all kinds of musical genres, particularly geared toward the Latino community. And what I'm so impressed by, and I'm going to be interested to see with your virtual version, is how you keep that nexus between film and singing and visual arts and community and the diversity. Because one of the things when I went to the premiere last year, I'm like, this could be Caracas, this could be Mexico City, this could be East LA, this could be the South Bronx, because it has that authenticity of the diversity within our own community. So, Marángeli Mejia, just hats off to you. And before we let you go, I got another announcement. We're so excited. Not only are we supporters of the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, we encourage everyone to log in next week, but the film festival is going to be part of Bomba Live. So Marángeli is going to produce the film segment. So she's going to bring on, we're going to have a discussion during Bomba Live virtual Puerto Rican celebration of the state of Puerto Rican film. So Puerto Rican filmmakers on the island, in the diaspora, what's going on? What are the trends? Who are the young filmmakers to watch? Marángeli, you're keeping us in the dark because you're going to bring some special surprises. But we're really excited to have this collaboration. Bomba Live and the film festival this is a great collaboration. We're so excited to have you join us.
Before I go, I just want to share two things. Number one, 21 countries represented in the festival this year. 4 days of programming. Our youth salon. Check our emerging filmmakers and young people and the work that they're doing. Phenomenal. And a whole bunch of premieres, from international premieres to US premieres to East Coast premieres to world premieres. So, and to Rafael, check the fusion and the inclusion of other disciplines. I'll leave it there.
Wonderful, Marángeli. So you got to check out, remind people again, repeat the website and any social media handles so people can keep up with this online.
It's flaf.org, phlaff.org. Búsquennos on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, and the hashtag is FLAF2020. Thank you for your support. All love.
Oh no, all love here. And I the only thing I'm more excited about next week, the film festival, is what you're bringing to the table for Bomba Live, because I can just imagine that conversation. I mean, the state of capturing the Puerto Rican experience and how that has evolved in the last 3-4 years for obvious reasons, and how you're going to be able to synthesize that conversation. One of the things that Marángeli is one of the national leaders on this, I'm just following in her footsteps on it, is that there's very few of our leaders that really are that bridge between la cultura y la perspectiva de la isla, la gente de la isla, and the diaspora. And Marángeli is one of them. I mean, you could talk to her about what happened back in the days with hip hop in the South Bronx. You could talk to her about, you know, Aleida Santos from American Idol Puerto Rico is going to perform, Marángeli, at the show. You know about that.
You're bringing it.
You know what I'm saying? So she kicks it on all those levels, and that's why I admire so much. Marángeli, mija, you're my sister girl. We're going to see you support the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival next week, and just support Marángeli Mejia and all her stuff. We got to keep it flowing. You know, one of the things I love to do on the show is bring my young boys on here. You know, these young boys that, you know, that I've tried to mentor over the years. And when this young man took the leap into activism and running for office a few years ago, I was so happy. And the first thing I told him was, just keep going, brother. You're well on your way. We have Manuel Guzman Jr. with us, who's running for the 127th State Representative District in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show, Manny. How are you, brother?
Thank you so much for having me, Ralph. You know, I love and appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for the words of wisdom you've given me over the years. Sorry, I was late. I was out putting out signs, as
You're
you know.
campaigning, my man. That's why. Don't worry about it. That's what you're so. As
I'm
Chris
like,
Rock
oh,
said, that's what you're supposed to do. You know, and I can't wait till you get that trim after Tuesday. I know how it is. You grow that campaign, you grow the campaign beard. It's a point of privilege.
What I've been telling people is like, listen, I've been standing in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the barbering industry. And if this is the worst that happens to me during the COVID-19 process, it's nowhere near as bad as what our brothers and sisters in the barbering and beauty industry has been going through.
No doubt.
So that's all right, man. If I'm looking a little rough here,
I think it's a great look. I love it. I love it, brother. I love it. Zoe, jump in because I know you like to see, particularly these a new generation of young Latinos step into the plate in politics, and Manny's got a great story. So just jump in with any questions you have for him.
So tell us about you. You know, did you grow up in Philly? What's your story? What really inspired you to run, other than Ray, of course, being the great leader that he is? And what are some of your issues that you really want to address?
Yeah, thank you. For me, I didn't grow up in Philly. I grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania. But for me, I fell in love with politics in 2008 when I was at Kutztown University. And I was crushing on this girl. A lot of people don't know the story. I was crushing on this girl. And she invited me to a meeting. I had no clue what it was about. But I was like, all right, I want to spend some time with you. So vamos. And it so happens that the meeting was for then Senator Barack Obama presidential campaign at Kutztown University. And that's really where I just fell in love with organizing. Like, I saw somebody who looked like me, who talked like me, who came from a similar background that I came from. And I just fell head over heels with the aspect of organizing. And so, once I left Kutztown at the height of the recession, I graduated in 2011. I wanted to be an investigative journalist. That didn't happen. That didn't work out for me. And so at that point, I started running for office, started percolating my mind. Of course, I became an Obama fellow in 2012. And then at that point, started looking inwards to my community, like, okay, Manny, how can you be a change agent in your own community? And so in 2013, I took the leap of faith and ran to become a member of the Reading School Board of Directors here in the city of Reading. Ran and I won. And since then, I've been at it ever since. And it was because, I'm gonna tell you, just to shout out Ralph again, it was because of one of Ralph's mentors, and Angel Figueroa, who was our brother. I went to one of his trainings, which is the training that Ralph gave Angel back in the day. So it's funny how the world works. But one of the things that I'm really most proud of is that it's not just about me. I've committed my life to not only running for office and being an advocate for my own community, but also helping others run for office, particularly Latinos and people of color. Right. So one of the things I'm really proudest of is helping to elect the first Latino mayor of a major city in Eddie Moran in Reading, Pennsylvania. I was his campaign manager, and we made history a few months ago. And now on Tuesday, we're ready to make history again.
Congratulations. And so you're not running, or are you running?
Yes, I'm running. So I'm currently a candidate in the 127th legislative district. And I ran for the seat 2 years ago to the then incumbent, and I lost by 100 votes 2 years ago.
Wow. The importance of our people getting out the vote.
Tell me about it.
And so Reading is pretty Latino, right? I mean, I visited a few times and there's a lot of Puerto Ricans there. I remember that.
A lot of people don't know this, but Reading actually has the highest concentration of Latinos in the entire state.
Wow.
Even higher than Philly now per density, right?
Right.
So
right.
There are a lot of Latinos in Reading, and Ralph, I was shouting you out there. I told.
I'm watching. I was just in the green room, but I appreciate you, man. No, but we have a great leadership network, and shout out to Mayor Moran, who's a great friend. He was actually part of that same meeting that I was blessed to be a part of when y'all were running as a slate for the school board. So no, it's an emerging city. It's a bellwether for national politics. You're going to see stories in the Washington Post and the New York Daily, all these, thought pieces around this is like the new America, old school, Pennsylvania Dutch industrial city now, urban Latino, new demographic, but a lot of the same stories, right? The immigrants experience, the people going for their dreams. So we're really excited. Curious, man, Manny, if you could share with people, what are the issues? Because you're hustling, brother. Before COVID-19, you were out there in freezing conditions, getting those petitions signed. And I've been there myself, so I know how that is. And that's when people are serious about what they're doing. But also you've been staying on your grind on the virtual. So just share with us what, before we introduce your colleague here, in a sense, your running mate. What are the issues you're hearing about in the community that you wanted to share? Because this is between the economic crisis that COVID-19 has created, the health crisis, the psychological uncertainty, the political climate. I know there's a lot going on out there that you wanted to share with people.
Yeah, there's so much going on. And Ralph and Zoe, what's important is I like to localize my politics. I mean, it's hard to get the Dong or the Juana to care about what's going on in Washington, D.C. when they can't afford to pay their rent, they can't afford to put food on the table. Abuela can't afford to pay for her medications, right? So for me, it's all about how do we localize those issues that are happening in Harrisburg, and how do we bring that down so that the everyday man and woman can understand what I can do as their next state representative. And so my commitment is to be the best state representative that I can be for my community. But my further commitment is that, quite frankly, Ralph, and you know this better than I do, that the 127th is a very safe district. We're not going to win the majority in the House or in the Senate by winning in Reading, right? So my commitment is to go to places like Allentown, Reading, Lancaster, Bethlehem, York, and find Latinos, people of color preferably, to run for these seats to help us take back the House of Representatives. And once we do that, because it's all about electoral politics, unless you're able to pass bills, there's not a lot that we can do. So my number one priority is finding people that can help us support raising the minimum wage, closing the discrimination gap within our LGBT community, bringing back the resources to Reading so that we can fix our crumbling roads and infrastructure, fixing our incredibly inequitable school district. I don't know if you know this, but the Reading School District is one of the most inequitable funded school districts in the entire country. Like, not just the Commonwealth, the entire country.
I was having, brother, and you know what I'm alluding to. I was having that conversation this morning. Yeah, a lot of challenges. A lot of challenges.
So, my commitment is to be the best representative I can be for my community. But my further commitment is to help Democrats take over both the House and the Senate so that we can start passing some meaningful legislation that can impact people's lives on a daily basis.
Great to see that kind of vision, brother, because if and when you win Tuesday, that you're not just going to represent some lines, Latinos and people of color look to you statewide, especially in central Pennsylvania. So hopefully we're going to be expanding that number. So before we introduce our other special guest, another one of these young emerging leaders that I wanted to highlight here and publicly endorse, because I'm endorsing this is my slate that's coming up right here. These two gentlemen, is that I just put another name in the chat of someone that's performing at Bomba Live, Zoe. So please share with us, and they're going to be performing from a very special location. That's right. They're going to be performing from Loíza, Puerto Rico. Cultura Activa, live Bomba from Loíza. It is very exciting. Very exciting. So at Bomba Live, we're going to have not only Bomba music, which is kind of obvious, but you got to have it from Loíza, Puerto Rico, which is the heart of the Afro-Puerto Rican community on the island and of Black Puerto Rican culture. So when I spoke to this family, they're wonderful people. They're not only going to do a performance with the adult group, but earlier in the day on the show, they're going to do you got to tune into the whole show. Don't just watch the party at the end, because during the day, we're going to have some amazing segments. They're going to do an educational segment for kids, not only how to teach our children watching how to dance Bomba, but they're going to teach you how to have your kids painting while they're dancing Bomba with their feet. This is going to be really exciting. So definitely check out Bomba Live June 13th on all our social media channels. Let's continue the conversation with our young emerging leaders who have an election on Tuesday. So they're giving us some very valuable time. I want to make sure we utilize it. You're truly inspiring. Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you're willing to look back and bring people up with you, right? Do the training on the ground. So that's important. That's important. I'm bringing out an all-star lineup here. Another candidate who's running for state house in Philadelphia proper. So 2 different campaigns. Hopefully we'll add both these young men to our Pennsylvania State House delegation. Another one of my young boys, Andre Del Valle in the house. What's up, Dre?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Manny? What's going on, buddy? Yo, you ready for Tuesday?
Andre, as you can see, I'm sweating. I just got back from putting out signs. Just a quick story, quickly, if I can. Please. No, of course. We used to work together for the Pennsylvania Democratic Party in 2018. And Andre and I were a part of helping to reelect both the governor and Senator Bob Casey by double-digit margins, largely because we went into communities of color like Reading, Philly, to activate that community. So, Andre, it's always a pleasure to be with you, brother.
I appreciate it. I
can't wait
appreciate
to
that
see
kind of unity. So Andre, let people know we got people watching, obviously from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Zoe's via the Bronx, one of our great Orlando, Central Florida leaders now, very familiar with some of the leaders in the Northeast that we've collaborated with over the years. So let people know a little bit about your race in the 175th district and what part of Philly that is, and anything else you want to share about your candidacy.
Absolutely. Well, first off, it's hard to follow such an amazing candidate like Manny, and obviously a good friend and mentor. As Manny said, I worked with him in 2018, and I don't think I'd be in the spot I am now without some of the tips and the tricks he's taught me. So, Manny, I look forward to working with you in Harrisburg. I can't wait till we both get up there and really amplify the voices of Latinos around our communities. But a little bit about me. My name's Andre Del Valle. I'm running for state representative here in Philadelphia, in the 175th district, which is the Riverward section, part of the city. Pretty much encompasses Kensington, Chinatown, Fishtown, Northern Liberties, all the way to Queen Village and Society Hill. So it's a geographically very large district. But we have a lot of issues here in this district. We have a representative who was appointed to the seat, not elected by the people, something we've heard at the national level, and we get very frustrated about. We have someone in the seat that has publicly stated that immigrants need documents. We have someone in the seat who is trying to take the local power away from our district attorney. These are all themes that we hold Trump accountable to, but this is a Democrat in the very same seat, in Philadelphia. So, the reason why I'm running is I believe that we do deserve a better vision. As a legislative aide in city council, I worked there for 5.5 years under Councilwoman Maria Sanchez because I'm dedicated to the Latino community. I'm a Latino. I'm the product of 2 immigrant parents. I want to give back to those communities. I believe that we deserve a better vision here, and that starts June 2nd, which is just a few days away. We have a lot of work to do here in this district. We have an opioid epidemic that's leaving needles and lives in its wake. Unfortunately, I've lost friends to this opioid epidemic. We have gun violence on the rise. I know Manny was touching, schools in Lancaster, and we have schools here in Philadelphia that are covered in lead and asbestos. Right? We had a pandemic before COVID. We had an epidemic with the opioid epidemic, prior to COVID hitting. So, we have a lot going on in this district. And what happens here in this district not only has ramifications on the rest of the city, but it has ramifications on districts like Manny's, in districts out in Erie. What we do here in Pennsylvania is what is going to change this nation. Pennsylvania is the battleground. It's a battleground for this presidential race. And we got a lot of work to do. And it starts by electing Latinos here locally, because our voices aren't going to be amplified until we get a seat at the table.
That's right. Zoe, I know, first of all, I know you're feeling having these young brothers up here doing their thing. I know.
I'm so excited. I'm so proud. I'm in the center, the epicenter of the fast-growing diaspora, Puerto Rican diaspora, especially after Hurricane Maria. And we have some work to do. So it really inspires me to see young people like yourself. And actually here in Central Florida, we have quite a few young people that have stepped up, like Jochi and
we just had a few on the show.
It's happening. But obviously when you look up north, there's so much more infrastructure, right? And so much more, community organizing led by people of color, led by people that look like us in our communities. And so it really inspires me and gives me hope as to, what will come in the next few years. And I'm always I'm from the Bronx, so I have a lot of experience from up north. But I remain hopeful because of young people like yourself. And so thank you for doing this and for having the courage and for standing up for our community. And you both sound like you could be presidential candidates. So, I'm with it. I'm going to wait around.
They're going to flip a coin. One's going to run for governor. One's going to run for Senate. I know how this works.
And if I
know how this works.
It really came down. A lot of this comes down to Ralph. Ralph and the network that he's been able to set aside. I'm not here without going to the training that Ralph put together with another one of my mentors, Andrew Figueroa. So it's funny how the universe works. Ralph with Angel saw something in both of us, and Andre and I. And Ralph is always somebody who I can always send the DM to and be like, hey, explain the situation to me because I don't get it.
This is my, MJ and Kobe kind of thing. Like nobody really knows how deep the connect is with the young boys. And we got you shouted out earlier, but you talk about mentorship. Councilwoman Maria Quiñones Sanchez, I worked with her on campaigns when we were much younger, and then worked with her, supported her candidacies as a city councilwoman. and and then that's how Andre got into the fold. So worked in our campaign, some of the community issues we work with on a lot of levels. So I was blessed to be able to connect with Andre. And when you meet talents like this that have this passion, particularly with males, because we're not falling. I felt a special need to try to mentor them because there's a lot of our women are very fortunate. We have very strong Latina networks of activists, and the Latinas are there for each other, and God bless them. Thank you. But we need more men to step up to the plate to keep up with them. But also, when we do have young guys in this situation, we got to support them because it's a distinct experience. I wanted to ask y'all, how is COVID? I mean, I can imagine running for office in the middle of this. I mean, talk about something you can't expect, right? In a campaign plan. So just wanted to ask you, why don't we start with you, Andre? Just how has this affected your campaign? I mean, the obvious, but just thoughts about just kind of how it's impacted the race and what your constituents are talking about, because this has turned everything upside down in weeks once you were starting.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, this is something that you could have never predicted. I don't think in thousands of years of even trying to put together a plan. And when you become a candidate, you try and think of every scenario. You think of every meeting that you have to go to, every endorsement you want to go after. What ended up happening, is I would be selfish if I said that, I'm the only one that's been affected. I know Manny, I know, just the residents have been affected with unemployment, figuring out what their next meal is going to be. So, one of the things that we did here in our campaign was I essentially stopped campaigning and started becoming a constituent service representative. I went back to the roots. I went back to what was taught to me by the councilwoman, by what was morally, I think, right. And what I did was just call residents and see how they were doing. And you would be surprised how surprised the residents were just to hear someone was calling to check up on them, which to me shouldn't be a surprise. It should be the norm. Your elected officials should be calling. Your elected officials should be checking in on you. Your elected officials should be providing the resources you need to get through a pandemic or any disaster. Even if that disaster hadn't been COVID, if you got unemployed, you should be able to call your elected official and understand what that process is like. So, we stopped campaigning and became constituent service representatives. One of the things that I did was we ended up coordinating with some restaurants here locally to make sure that some seniors had food. We ended up going to Jefferson University Hospital here in Philadelphia to give back to our frontline workers who have been absolutely incredible, the nurses who have been dealing with COVID day in and day out. So we decided to give back to them. We've been calling residents and educating them on how to navigate the unemployment benefits applications. But one of the main things that I saw, especially in our communities, is that the residents and the information wasn't getting disseminated to our communities. Folks weren't understanding the gravity of COVID. They weren't understanding why they needed masks. ¿Por qué no puedo salir? Why can't I leave my house? Well, the reality is this is a serious matter. So, it was a matter of just becoming the leadership that I wanted to see in this area. And I know Manny has done a great job in his district as well. But we just need to make sure that we're giving back to the residents, because we're running for a seat where we're expected to be leaders. And if you're not a leader in the time of crisis, you don't deserve to be in that seat.
Amen. Manny, I mean, I know it's got to hurt you, man, because you're a street guy like me. You want to be out there in the street talking to the barbershops and people in the neighborhood. So I know this had to be a tough adjustment for you.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And I echo all of Andre's comments because we did a lot of the same things. So I won't go too much in detail to what Andre said. But the one thing I can say about both of our campaigns is that we saw COVID and we were flexible enough to change our campaign approach and reach voters in different ways that haven't been done before. So whether that's through Zoom, whether that's through text banking, whether that's through phone banking, whether that's providing constituent services, but you're right, Ralph, this has definitely impacted us in a lot of different ways. But of course, I think we will all be naive to think that COVID, it's impacted every other aspect of our society, like why elections wouldn't be immune to that. And so, it's tough. I mean, I would say that in Andre's case, it's probably a little tougher because Andre is running against an incumbent, whereas I'm in an open seat. So, obviously the incumbency has some big advantages to it. So, it's a little apples to oranges, but in the sense of how we've been able to pivot and been able to not only redirect our campaign, but redirect our focus to providing services to our people at the ground level. Win or lose, I think that's going to have the lasting impact for both of our community, both of our respective communities. But Ralph, you're right, man. I'm a door knocker, man. I love being on the street. I love knocking on doors. I love talking with people. And COVID-19 has taken away one of the biggest joys that I have of campaigning, which is talking to people where they are at their doorsteps about the issues that we care about.
To your point about how to pivot or how current events might impact your work, so how do you think the Floyd case, what's happened in the last few days might impact your campaign or, voter turnout? Do you think it might have an impact? Are you talking to folks about the case? Do you have a strategy for incorporating it somehow to help mobilize folks?
Yeah, I'll go first with Manny, if that's all right with you. One of the things that I think the George Floyd case has shown is that, and I think Will Smith nailed it, racism is not getting worse, it's getting filmed. This has been happening for years, this has been happening for decades, but what's happening now is that the communities are holding our law enforcement officials accountable now. And now, the fact that those officers were fired was because of public pressure on political actors and political folks in office and holding them accountable. And that's the power of social media. I mean, social media, we use it to share cat videos. We should show it to, update people on life events. But we also use it as a way to organize and protest injustices. What I've seen here in this district and what I've seen, here in Philadelphia is a lot of folks are now looking to candidates and looking at their elected officials and saying, well, where do they really stand on criminal justice reform? Where do they stand on holding others accountable? And I think, one of the things I've been talking about this whole campaign has been criminal justice reform. I'm a firm believer in legalization of marijuana, not only as a criminal justice reform piece, but as a revenue stream here in Pennsylvania, because given COVID right now, we need to be innovative and creative in a new way.
You see the tax revenue, brother? I know you're studying it in Colorado and California. I mean, unbelievable. It's been a boom.
Exactly. So we need to.
But who's getting those contracts? And there's a big equity question right there. Because if we sell it in the street, we get thrown in jail.
Right.
When the hipsters and the burbs do it, they making millions. That's got to be. I know y'all are engaged in that.
Exactly. So I'll just touch on that and then come back to Floyd. But when we're talking about the legalization of marijuana, we need to make sure that the minority communities are the first ones to be able to get those applications. We need minority-owned businesses to be able to have those licenses first, and we need to expunge all those records for low-level low-level possessions of marijuana. And that's something that should have been done years ago. This is such an outdated policy. It's such a discriminatory policy because that has impacted the Black and brown communities more than any other community, not only here in Philadelphia, but around the country. But, going back to George Floyd, what we saw was people that thought they were above the law. Let's be honest. They knew they were being filmed and they did not care. They did not stop. So we need to continue to hold people accountable and elect people that are going to hold those accountable and, fight for these communities. When I'm talking about criminal justice reform, it's not a platform piece for me. It's the reality because I understand that that's what's going to happen in our communities. That could have been in Philadelphia. That could have been in Lancaster. That could have been in Allentown. It could have been in any one of our counties. It was in Minnesota, but that's not how this should happen. So, we'll see what happens. I think this is going to drive up.
And it's something that we have to. And Manny, I want to get your thoughts on this, but let's keep it real. It's very important right now that Latinos stand real strong with our black allies to the Black community right now, even stronger than ever. And also because we got to confront this in our own community. If y'all remember, it was a Latino cop that killed Philando Castile in Minnesota. So it's not like there was a Latino cop that just got fired. He's been the one. There was a Latino cop in New York City that was the one, harassing a lot of African Americans around, COVID, social distancing, just going way too far with it. So these are issues we not only have to stand with the Black community, but we have to confront internally. Manny, break in there because I know that this is a big topic in your district, brother. I know it is.
Oh, well, yeah.
That police officer had 18 complaints against him. Right. And so, again, where are we with, holding people accountable for their actions before a case of this magnitude comes to light, if it comes to light, to your point?
Yeah, again, I think it's a very unfortunate situation that happened, quite frankly, and it's just, I mean, this is something that's been happening in our communities for years. It just so happens that now we have smartphones and people can record these things and upload them to Facebook. But had Facebook and iPhones been around in the 1960s, I mean, we would have seen police officers water hosing people on the streets or letting dogs loose against people of color in Selma. So it's definitely not new. I agree with Andre though, and as I always say, even I say this in my own campaign and what I tell people, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And so if people of color are not at these decision-making tables, having these very important policy-making discussions in terms of where we're at within our specific communities, then those issues are not addressed. Criminal justice issues directly impact me directly because I have 3 brothers in my family who are currently felons for low-level drug crimes. So this is real. This is when we talk about criminal justice reform, Andre and I talk about it. We don't just talk about it because we want to gain votes. We talk about it because it's a visceral experience. I lived it. I smell it. I feel it in my bones. I see it with my brothers who have been labeled felons for the rest of their lives. And so essentially they're second-class citizens. They have a hard time voting. In Florida, I mean, I'm sure you know this, right? So I mean, they make it so difficult for felons to vote in Florida. The same thing here in Pennsylvania, right? And so my own personal family have such a difficult time trying to get underneath this second-class citizenship that's been placed on them. But in terms of police officers and what happened with Mr. Floyd, when I saw the video, I was just so angry. I'm like, I cannot believe. Number one, like part of me was like, man, if I was there, I would have bum rushed the cop, right? And I know I'm a political candidate. Maybe I shouldn't say that, right? But maybe Mr. Floyd would still be alive, right? And but then I start thinking about the Philando Castiles of the world and the Sandra Blands of the world, and all the people of color who have died just recently within the last couple of years by the hands of law enforcement officials. And I'm like, man, when is enough enough? When, it's just not enough for us, for people of color to protest on the street. I mean, there's a place for protesting, but there's also a place for getting ourselves elected and sitting on these seats where we can actually pass some meaningful laws and policies that can start addressing these fundamental issues that
impact us. That's right.
Yes. And if I could just say one thing, because I think Manny just nailed it. There is a place for protesting, but let's be honest. When the people, stormed the Capitol a few weeks ago with their AR automatic rifles, there was no tear gas, there was no cops in their faces. But when people are protesting, people protested at the national level on a football field, and everyone lost their minds on it when Colin was doing it. Then they protest in the streets, and now we tear gas it. But when people are protesting with AR, style rifles at the Capitol, it just shows the injustices and just the culture, the culture, the education that we need to have around these issues, because there's clearly discrepancies when we're peacefully protesting someone's life being taken away to protesting a virus, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry, to say it as bluntly as that, but protesting a virus, I've never heard anyone protest a virus.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, we could sit here and get inspired by these young brothers all day, but they got to keep campaigning. And they're in the final days, and I want to give Zoe an opportunity to sort of her and I to wrap up the show. So Manny, let people know we got June 2nd is the election. Hopefully people submitted their vote by mail applications, but that deadline is passed. If you still get it in the mail, please vote by mail. You may have it in your mail. Look for it. There are different, you probably aren't voting in the same place as you normally do because the polling places for obviously have been consolidated. So Manny, let people know where they can vote for you and anything else you want to share about your campaign, including, hey, I'm gonna, anyone watching this, you can send these young brothers a few bucks too, because they, they're gonna need election workers to make phone calls, do a virtual outreach, and connect with people. They can do radio ads this weekend. We can help them. We need to do that. So Manny, let people know how they can support you over the next few days.
Just to make a last point on the last topic, Dr. Martin Luther King said that riots are the voices of the unheard. And I know we like to focus on riots, but we really need to focus on those voices of the unheard. And so how to get involved in my campaign, I'm somebody who's always led with his values, somebody who remembers my mother, a single mom of 5, who struggled to raise us, struggled to pay the rent, struggled to put food on the table. My brothers who are convicted felons, you know, those visceral experiences are with me. My father, who we reconnected with later on in life, his story is important to tell too. My father came to this country at the age of 19, not knowing a lick of English, and came to Reading, reunited the family because he purchased his first home and owned his first piece of the American dream. Those are the type of experiences I want to bring to Harrisburg. Those are the voices that I want to fight for, because like my mother, like my father, there are thousands of people in the city of Reading and millions more across the Commonwealth who deserve to have champions in Harrisburg who not only speak truth to power, but also will always fight for the issues that impact their community.
Wonderful. What's a website, man? We got to throw you some
Great.
cash, brother.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to add that. I got in my feelings there.
I know you did. This is one
So
conversation. These are true leaders.
Two ways. You can find me on voteformannyguzman.com. That's an easy way to find me. Or if you want to connect with me on Facebook, you can find me at Guzman for the 127.
Wonderful. Andre, first of all, your website is immaculate. Andre's always got, it's just clean. The brother's just clean. Everything is clean, dapper, buttoned up. Let people know where they can give you some money, brother, and support you on Election Day on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't thank you, Ray and Zoe, for giving us the opportunity to be on this platform and share, you know, why exactly we're running. You know, I think a lot of folks don't understand how hard it is to run, how difficult it is to be a person of color to run, and how even triple difficult it is to run during this time. So any donation will go a long way. You know, right now and I won't speak for Manny, but I'll speak for most campaigns, are trying to pay for lit. They're trying to pay for phone bankers. A $20 donation, you have no idea how much that goes and how we'll make it work for us. But, you know, we have an opportunity here in Pennsylvania to elect a number of amazing candidates, a number of amazing Latinos. I know Janet Diaz, Councilmember Diaz, is on here. She's running for state Senate. So we got to amplify her, because we need more Latino women at higher seats, higher than me and Manny, because that's how we're really going to get change. You know, Manny's an amazing candidate, and I can't wait to see what he's going to bring in Harrisburg, and I can't wait to work with him. So definitely, you know, send Manny some money. Here in Philadelphia, we have one Latino running for office that's not an incumbent, and that is me right now. I'm running against 3 challengers right now. So, you know, my race is going to be very important, because, as I said, what happens here in Philadelphia has ripple effects into what happens around the Commonwealth. And same thing with Manny's race. You know, we need to elect people that look like us. If we want a seat at the table and, you know, not be on the menu anymore and have our issues addressed, we have to elect people, and we have to get out and vote. So with that, I'll say, you know, be sure to vote on Tuesday. Please wear a mask. Please follow the CDC recommendations. Stay 6 feet apart. Please stay in line. I cannot stress that enough. They are going to try and shut down the booths if they know that Democrats are coming out. Please stay in line. And as long as you're in line before 8 p.m., your vote will be counted. So please make sure and go out. And I can't thank you enough. My website is andredelvalle.com. And I thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to tell my story.
Needless to say, I endorse both these young men, and the Bomba Life families with you guys. So, you know, for what that's worth, I'm running. You know, I'm doing some things that we could talk about Election Day, may be helpful, but I can't talk about it because of the rules. But needless to say, you know, I'm really proud of you, brothers, and on a personal level, I support you 1,000%. Stay there, Zoe, because I want to give you a second to sort of reflect on this whirlwind of a conversation with these young emerging leaders. Manny Guzman Jr., State Representative candidate in Reading, Pennsylvania. Andre Del Valle, State Representative candidate, Philadelphia. Best of young men. You're doing the Lord's work, man. Keep it up, guys. So that was Dre and Manny, like they call them in the neighborhood. So Zoe, the floor is yours.
Talent, my goodness. Look
who I pick as my co-host.
There's
obviously.
There's support for one another. You know, you got one saying, support my brother Manny. I mean, it's just so impressive, you know, and I love the fact that Manny talked about, you know, looking to see who else might be interested in running and supporting those folks and mentoring those folks, just as you had mentored them and others have mentored all of you. And so I think that's really refreshing. You know, oftentimes in our community, it can be a little competitive, and, you know, particularly in a space like Central Florida. And so just to see that camaraderie and that support from one another, you know, it's very inspiring and hopeful. And I love the fact that they were young people, and we need more of those voices.
And you know what I like about them is their personal styles are very different. Andre's clean cut, Manny's hood, but they got a nice clique. It reminds me of my youngest brother, actually. We kind of have this different kind of style.
Absolutely.
But they had, absolutely. Wanted to give a shout out Janet Diaz, who I think we just had a technical glitch. We were trying to get her on today, but things happened. Janet is running for state senate in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. She's on the city council, I believe. So Janet, girl power, Boricua power, girl, we're with you as well. Want to make sure we give Janet some love. And there's a lot of people that have been providing. Charito Morales, a great Puerto Rican leader in Philadelphia, has been providing a lot of great commentary. Joe Berocal on the chat, who leads our local National Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce chapter here. Zoe, great young Puerto Rican leader. We're talking tomorrow morning about how they can get involved in Bomba Live. And of course, support these candidates. Zoe, this was really cool. I mean, great leadership. I'm so glad you brought our Florida friends to the table. Marángeli was a wonderful segue with the film festival. So just any other thoughts you had about this conversation? We could have went on and on with these folks. They were great.
Very impressive. I look forward to seeing more candidates in the next few months and really highlighting and amplifying the importance of supporting our own in many different ways, whether it's knocking on doors. And some folks don't even realize how they can help candidates. So I think that talking about the various ways, the $20 donation at this critical point in time, some people may think, it's already too late. They only have 3 or 4 days, but in all actuality, you might be, mailing out XYZ number of mailings through, because of the $20. So I think there's a lot that our community could learn, through this channel, right? In learning how to get involved, how to support our own. I have a lot of ideas around, I think we have a local Hispanic, it's called the Hispanic Film Festival. I wonder, how diverse it is, if it has the reach that you all have up north. And so just thinking through all these different wonderful things that are happening up north, that are happening in different cities with a large concentration of our folks, and what we could be doing here. And so obviously when it comes to politics, it's near and dear to my heart, even though I haven't run. And I think that's something, me toca. Yeah, like in the next 2 years, I'm going to have to do this because, when I see young people, I'm like, you know what, we should be doing this. I should be doing this. So, but also, how do we wrap our arms around a candidate? It's not just, you run because you're Boricua, you run because, you're young and brown. How do we wrap our arms around you and support you from A to Z? And so I just feel like we need to still build that infrastructure. And so I'm really excited about, what's to come, and honored to be a part of your show. And, this is great. I love this. And
a lot of great energy today. A lot of great. She was fantastic. Yeah. Hold on, Charito Morales. That's what I like right there. That's what I like right there. To see.
I love it. Thank you.
If not earlier, Charito's fantastic, great friend, and does a lot of work for the island. We got to get Charito. Get you involved with Bomba Live, one of our great Puerto Rican leaders. She does so much for the diaspora and the island. She's fantastic.
So just a woman on here. There's
a lot of great folks. So couple announcements before we let you go. On that note, in mid-June, we don't have a date yet. We have to make arrangements, but we do have a couple of Latinas who are running in New York State, your old neck of the woods, friends of yours. Definitely. Our friend Hilda Escher is running for state senate in Rochester. So we got our ROC people, we gotta love them. And Jessica Gonzalez Rojas is running at State Assembly in New York. We will have them on the show. We support them, we endorse them, we love them. You talk about some powerhouse women, those two. They are fantastic. I wanted to shout out, besides George Floyd and these victims of this police brutality that we've lost in the Black community, Breonna Taylor, Ahmed Arbery, George Floyd, obviously, the underlying honors for them, and over 100,000 people lost to COVID. But the other person that we lost, I wanted to shout out, who has a tie with the New York leadership community you're a part of, Zoe, is Valerie Rodriguez. We lost recently, non-COVID related, but it was sudden. She's very similar story to you, was a New Yorker, became a Florida activist, was a very ardent, progressive, was one of the show's biggest fans. We had some great political conversations on social media. I never got the honor to meet her, but she passed away. Her sister, we went to Columbia with, Alexa Aviles, who you know from the New York scene, one of our great Brooklyn leaders. She's running for New York City Council next year. So just wanted to share that, this was in Valerie's honor as much as anyone. And the irony was that Valerie was the person that pushed Alexa to run. And was so big into leaders and developing leadership.
Mhm.
And we were able to honor this particular episode. Not that we planned it, obviously, to her.
Right.
So I just wanted to give our love to Alexa's family. Valerie was a great, even though I never got to meet her, she was one of our biggest fans. And, you know, we have to honor people that were supportive and carried on that vision. But on a happier note, Bomba Live's coming, Zoe. I know you're excited, girl. I mean, it's going to be
Absolutely.
a celebration. What are you looking forward to the most of Bomba Live, Zoe?
Everything. I'm gonna be in the various rooms. I want to hear the freestyle. I want to hear salsa. I want to learn how to paint while I do bomba, which I don't know if I can handle all of that, but
There's
we'll
a lot
see.
going on. I got to see what Chef Greg is going to cook for dinner. That's going to be interesting.
Level.
That's a whole other level. We are working on, well, I'll just say it. Well, I mean, we're working on, well, let me just say this. Then my goal, I told the crew, want to shout out Christina, I mean, Jennifer, I mean, Mia, Abe, I mean, there's so many great people working on this, Shirley, that we have a whole committee for this. And I told Christina, who's our talent director, I said, this show has to be as girly as possible. So if we have a nail person,
what does
get 'em.
that mean, Ray?
No, but I'm saying I want to take care of the ladies. So we're going to do beautician, presentations. You know, I mean, we're trying to do a fashion show on here. I mean, we're trying to go next level.
All
So
right.
we got to take care of the ladies. You know what I mean? And I'll get the eye candy. I'll get a couple of these Papi Chulo guys, whatever. You know, we want
I
to
like that.
take
I like
care of
that.
y'all. You know what I mean? We want to take care of y'all. But no, we want to really diversify it. Obviously, we're going to honor a lot of great Latina leaders. We're going to make those
That's right.
announcements in the coming days. And cross your fingers. I mean, we got a couple big names we're very close to confirming. But regardless, we're going to have a great group. Some of the people that were on the show for the anniversary come. Pablo Batista's coming back. Heidi Ann Rosa who's going to kill it. You know, this is going to be her thing. So Zoe, anything else you wanted to share with our folks before we wrap it up?
That's it. Just make sure to tune in June 13th, Saturday, June 13th. You have to picture yourself in the 116 Festival in Nueva York or the Puerto Rican Festival here in Orlando in April. That was supposed to happen in April. And take it back. We're going to have so much diversity on the show, so many different forms of entertainment and creatives. And so I'm excited. And so I'll make sure to spread the word. And for sure, I will be tuning in.
Oh, well, you're going to be on the show, girl. We just haven't picked your time slot yet. But you'll definitely be a part of the show, and we're going to have a red carpet. There's a lot going on, girl. You got to get your gown. We're ready to rock and roll here. Thank you all so much for joining the show. Next week will be Ladies Night. I will not be on the show because Zoe and the ladies are taking over the stream. That should be fascinating. And, of course, June 13th, Bomba Live. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Zoe, for joining this episode and bringing the leadership from Florida to the table. Thank you all so much.
Absolutely.